The desperate message, the silent void captain. Lyra pressed her slender fingers against the console as warning lights bathed the bridge in crimson shadows. The research vessel Star Whisper shuddered violently, its elegant crystalline hull groaning under stress it was never designed to handle. Around her, the bridge crew of the Zephyrian Exploration Institute worked frantically at their stations, their normally calm demeanor cracking under pressure. Primary fusion core is offline, reported Navigator Kess, his voice tight with controlled panic. Secondary power failing. We have maybe 4 hours before life support completely shuts down. Lyra closed her large silver eyes and tried to center herself. The Zephyrians were a peaceful race, known throughout the galaxy for their scientific achievements and philosophical wisdom. They had never faced a crisis like this. Her people lived on garden worlds with gentle breezes and crystal cities, exploring the cosmos to share knowledge and beauty with other civilizations. Violence and danger were concepts they understood only in theory. What caused the explosion? She asked Chief Engineer Dara, who was reviewing damage reports with trembling hands. Unknown. Captain, the quantum resonance chamber just detonated. There was no warning, no system failure alerts. One moment everything was normal, the next. Dara gestured helplessly at the sparking control panels around them. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, Lyra could see the debris field surrounding their crippled ship. Chunks of their vessel's outer hull drifted past like metal snow, each piece carrying away a little more of their hope for survival. They were stranded in the empty space between star systems, millions of kilometers from the nearest inhabited world. Captain, Communications Officer Zane called from his station. I'm detecting several crew members trapped in the lower sections. The emergency bulkheads sealed them off when the explosion occurred. They have limited air supply. Lyra's heart sank. Among those trapped were 3 younglings who had joined the mission to learn about deep space exploration. They were barely past their first century of life, excited to see the wonders of the galaxy. Now they might die before experiencing the beauty her people cherished, the impossible choice. Options, Lyra said, forcing her voice to remain steady for her crew's sake. The emergency beacon, suggested Kess. We could send a distress call to the Galactic Rescue Coordination Center. But Captain, they're based in the Andromeda region. Even their fastest ships would take 16 hours to reach us. How long to we have? 8 hours maximum before life support fails completely. Maybe less if we lose more power systems. Lyra stared at the tactical display showing their position in space. They were in a region of space called the local bubble by some species, far from the major shipping lanes that connected the galaxy's civilized worlds. No one came here except for scientific expeditions like theirs. Captain, Zane said suddenly, his voice filled with unexpected hope. I'm detecting something strange. There's another communications network in this region, much more primitive than ours, but it appears to cover several star systems. Another rescue service? Unknown. The signals are unusual. Very aggressive compression algorithms, military-grade encryption protocols. But there are civilian transmissions, mixed in, educational broadcasts, entertainment, scientific data. Lyra felt a spark of hope. Any civilization advanced enough for interstellar communications might be able to help. Can you access their emergency frequencies? Zane's fingers danced over his controls. I think so, but Captain, I should warn you. These signals are coming from the direction of a system our stellar cartographers marked as problematic. What kind of problematic? Navigator Kess pulled up the galactic database on his screen. Sol 3, also called Earth by its inhabitants. It's classified as a Class 12 death world. The species that evolved there shows extreme aggression and territorial behavior. There are warnings throughout the database advising all ships to maintain a minimum safe distance of 50 light-years. A chill ran through the bridge. Every spacefaring species knew about death worlds, planets so harsh and violent that any life forms evolving there would be savage predators, concerned only with conquest and destruction. The galactic community had protocols for dealing with such worlds, complete avoidance. However, Zane added quietly, their technology appears quite advanced. If anyone in this region could mount a rescue operation in time. Lyra looked around at her dying crew. Several officers had already collapsed from the deteriorating air quality. In the lower sections, her people were slowly suffocating, while she debated the ethics of contacting monsters. Prepare the emergency beacon, she decided. Target it toward the Earth system. If these humans are truly as advanced as they appear, perhaps they've evolved beyond their violent nature. Earth's warning light years away, Admiral Sarah Chen sat in the command center of Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station, sipping coffee that had gone cold hours ago. The veteran officer had spent 30 years watching the stars, coordinating humanity's expansion into space, and dealing with the occasional crisis that came from pushing the boundaries of known space. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Torres from the communications desk. "We're receiving an unusual transmission. It's definitely not human origin." Chen set down her cup and walked over to Torres's station. On the screen, complex waveforms scrolled past in patterns unlike anything in Earth's databases. "How unusual?" "The signal structure is completely alien. Multi-dimensional frequency modulation, quantum encrypted. But our translation software is picking up what appears to be a distress call." "From who?" "Unknown species. They're calling themselves Zephyrians. Admiral, they say they're dying." Chen felt her pulse quicken. In all of humanity's expansion into space, they had never encountered another intelligent species. There had been theories, hope, and speculation, but no proof. Until now. Put it through the main speakers. The bridge filled with a strange musical voice speaking in harmonious tones that the computer translated into flat, mechanical English. "Emergency transmission to any listening station. This is Captain Lyra of the Zephyrian research vessel Star. Whisper. We are experiencing critical system failures and require immediate assistance. Our coordinates are..." The message provided precise spatial coordinates that placed the aliens roughly 18 hours away at maximum hyperspace velocity. "My God," whispered Chen. "It's really happening. First contact." "Admiral," Torres said, checking her instruments. "There's something else. According to their transmission data, they think they're calling someone called the Galactic Rescue Coordination Center. Their beacon appears to have malfunctioned and reached us instead." Chen's expression grew thoughtful. She pulled up Earth's files on that region of space. Long-range sensors had detected artificial structures and energy signatures suggesting multiple alien civilizations, but humanity had maintained a careful distance. Earth's policy had always been cautious observation, until they better understood what they might be dealing with. "Get me a direct line to General Harrison at Space Command," Chen ordered, "and patch me through to the President's office. This is going to require authorization from the top." The Council of War within an hour, Earth's most senior military and political leaders had assembled via secure video conference. President Martinez appeared on the main screen from the White House, while General Harrison connected from Mars Central Command. Dr. Reeves, Earth's leading xenobiologist, joined from Luna University. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," President Martinez said, his voice serious. "We've received a distress call from aliens who are apparently dying in space, and they want us to rescue them." "That's correct, Madam President." "Admiral," Chen replied. "Based on their signal strength and the urgency in their transmission, I estimate they have less than 8 hours before their life support fails completely." General Harrison leaned forward on his screen. "What do we know about these Zephyrians? Are they hostile?" Dr. Reeves cleared her throat. "Based on their transmission patterns and the nature of their distress call, they appear to be a peaceful, scientific expedition. Their ship designation suggests exploration rather than military purpose. However, we have no previous contact with this species to base any assessments on." "Admiral Chen," the President asked, "what would a rescue mission entail?" "We'd need to deploy one of our long-range capable vessels. The closest ship with sufficient speed and medical facilities is the UES Titan's Wrath, currently on patrol near Proxima Centauri. Captain Rodriguez could reach their position in approximately 17 hours. General Harrison frowned. "The Titan's Wrath is a Dreadnought-class warship. Are we sure we want our first contact with aliens to be with one of our most heavily armed vessels?" It's also our most capable ship for this type of mission, Chen replied. Full medical bay, extended life support capabilities, and the defensive systems to protect both crews if the situation goes wrong. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Humanity's first contact with alien life would be a rescue mission launched by a massive warship. It wasn't exactly the peaceful meeting most people had imagined. There's another factor to consider, Dr. Reeves added. If we succeed in rescuing these aliens, word will spread throughout their civilization about humanity's existence. We can't take this step back. President Martinez was quiet for a long moment. Admiral Chen, in your professional opinion, what should we do? Chen looked at the faces on her screen, then at the alien distress signal still scrolling across her monitors. Madam President, they're dying. They sent out a call for help, and through some accident of fate, we're the ones who received it. If we have the capability to save lives, I believe we have the moral obligation to try. Even though they're completely unknown to us, especially because they're unknown to us. How we handle this first contact will define humanity's relationship with alien species for generations to come. Do we want to be known as the species that helps those in need, or the one that turns away from suffering? Launch authorization. President Martinez nodded slowly. Admiral Chen, you have authorization to launch a rescue mission, but I want this handled carefully. Full diplomatic protocols, medical team standing by. And for God's sake, make sure Captain Rodriguez understands that this is a humanitarian mission first and foremost. Understood, Madam President. And Admiral, keep me informed every step of the way. History is watching. As the conference ended, Chen turned to her communications officer. Get me Captain Rodriguez on the Titan's Wrath immediately. The main screen flickered and showed the weather-beaten face of Captain Miguel Rodriguez, a career military officer known for his calm demeanor and tactical brilliance. Behind him, the bridge of the Titan's Wrath bustled with efficient activity. Admiral, Rodriguez said without preamble, we received the alien transmission. My medical team is already analyzing their biological requirements. Captain, you're authorized to proceed immediately to render assistance. This is now designated Operation Lifeline. You have full discretionary authority to take whatever actions necessary to save those lives. Understood. Admiral, I should mention that Dr. Kim has been reviewing their transmission data. She believes their atmospheric requirements are similar enough to ours that we can accommodate them aboard the Titan's Wrath if necessary. Excellent. Captain, I need to stress something. This is humanity's first contact with alien life. How you handle this situation will be remembered for centuries. Show them the best of what humanity can be. Rodriguez's expression grew thoughtful. Admiral, what if they're hostile? What if this is some kind of trap? Then you defend your ship and crew. But Captain, everything in their transmission suggests they're peaceful scientists in genuine distress. They have children aboard their vessel who are dying. I don't think any species would use their own children as bait for a trap. Agreed. We'll depart within the hour. Estimated arrival time at their coordinates is 16 hours and 43 minutes. As the transmission ended, Chen turned to look out the observation windows at the star-filled sky. Somewhere out there, aliens were dying while waiting for help from a species they'd never met, and humanity's most powerful warship was racing through space to save them. The final hours aboard the Star Whisper, the situation continued to deteriorate. Captain Lyra moved through the corridors of her ship, checking on her crew and trying to maintain morale. The emergency lighting cast everything in an eerie blue glow, and the air had grown thin enough that everyone was breathing heavily. Captain, Zane called as she returned to the bridge. We received a response from the Earth system. Lyra's heart leaped with hope. And they're sending a rescue ship. Estimated arrival time is just over 16 hours. But Captain... Zane paused, looking troubled. What is it? The vessel they're sending. According to their transmission, it's something called a Dreadnought-class warship. Their database entry describes it as one of their most heavily armed ships. The bridge fell silent. Navigator Kess looked up from his station with wide eyes. They're sending a warship to rescue us. What kind of species sends military vessels on rescue missions? Death Worlders, whispered Engineer Dara. Only violent species would arm their rescue ships. Lyra felt fear creep into her chest, but she forced it down. Perhaps their ships serve multiple purposes. Many species use the same vessels for exploration, defense, and rescue operations. Captain, Kes said quietly, I've been thinking about the humans. According to the Galactic database, their world has over 70% water coverage, extreme weather patterns, and hundreds of predatory species. Any intelligence that evolved there would have to be incredibly aggressive just to survive. But they answered our call for help, Lyra pointed out. If they truly wanted to harm us, wouldn't they simply ignore our distress signal? Before anyone could answer, the ship's systems emitted a warning tone. Communications Officer Zane checked his instruments and paled. Captain, we just lost another power coupling. Life support is now down to 6 hours maximum. Lyra looked around at her dying crew. Whatever the humans were, whatever their intentions, they were now her people's only hope for survival. She just had to pray that when the human warship arrived, they would find salvation rather than death. In the depths of space, the massive form of the UES Titan's Wrath raced through hyperspace toward an appointment with destiny, carrying humanity's hopes and fears toward their first meeting with alien life. When worlds collide, the arrival of terror, the space around the crippled Star Whisper suddenly erupted in brilliant light as reality itself seemed to tear open. Captain Lyra watched in horrified fascination as a massive hyperspace portal expanded. Before them, crackling with energy that made their sensors scream warnings. Then, like a predator emerging from deep water, the human warship materialized. The UES Titan's Wrath was a monument to human engineering and military might. At nearly 3 kilometers in length, it dwarfed the elegant Zephyrian research vessel by a factor of 20. Its hull was matte black, designed to absorb sensor scans and blend with the darkness of space. Weapon emplacements dotted its surface like the scales of some enormous spaceborne dragon, while shield generators hummed with barely contained energy. By the ancient stars, breathed Navigator Kes, his voice filled with terror. Look at the size of that monster. The human ship's design spoke of a species that had known war from birth. Where Zephyrian vessels flowed with organic curves that mimicked the beauty of nature, the Titan's Wrath was all angles and armor plating. Missile, tubes, energy weapons, and defensive systems created a silhouette that seemed to scream aggression to anyone who saw it. Captain, Communications Officer Zane said, his voice shaking, they're hailing us. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at the bridge of the human warship. Captain Lyra had to suppress a gasp of fear at what she saw. The humans were bipedal like her people, but there the similarity ended. They were shorter and more heavily built, with flat faces dominated by forward-facing eyes that marked them as predators. Their skin was varied in color, and their hair grew in different textures and shades. Most terrifying of all, they wore uniforms of military cut in dark colors, and their bearing spoke of discipline forged in conflict. These were warriors, soldiers, from a world that had clearly known nothing but violence. Zephyrian vessel Star Whisper, came a deep voice from the lead human. This is Captain Miguel Rodriguez of the United Earth ship Titan's Wrath. We received your distress call and are here to render assistance. Captain Lyra forced herself to respond despite her fear. Captain Rodriguez, this is Captain Lyra. We are grateful for your response, but we must inform you that we are unarmed. We surrender our vessel to your mercy. A look of confusion crossed the human captain's face. Surrender? Captain Lyra, we're not here to attack you. We received your emergency transmission and came to help. Do you require immediate medical assistance? The response puzzled Lyra. In every database entry about Deathworld species, first contact involved conquest and subjugation. Yet this human captain spoke of helping rather than demanding submission. Captain Rodriguez, she said carefully, our life support systems are failing. We have injured crew members and 3 younglings who are in critical condition, but your vessel, it appears to be designed for warfare. The Titan's Wrath is a multi-role vessel, Rodriguez replied. Yes, she's armed for defense, but she also carries full medical facilities and emergency rescue equipment. Captain, we don't have much time for explanations. May we have permission to come aboard and assist your crew? The boarding party 20. Minutes later, Lyra stood in the Star Whisper's main docking bay, watching as a human shuttle approached their ship. The craft was as militaristic as everything else about these aliens, bristling with sensors and what appeared to be defensive weapons. Remember, she told her senior officers, these are Deathworlders. They may appear helpful, but we must be prepared for anything. The shuttle docked with a mechanical precision that spoke of military training. As the airlock cycled open, Lyra got her first close look at humans in person. They were even more intimidating up close. The first human through the airlock was clearly the leader. He wore a uniform covered in equipment pouches and had what appeared to be a communications device attached to his head. Behind him came others carrying large cases and wearing what looked like armor suits with transparent face shields. Captain Lyra? The lead human asked, removing his helmet to reveal graying hair and kind eyes that seemed oddly compassionate for a warrior species. I'm Commander Santos, medical officer of the Titan's Wrath. These are my medical technicians. Lyra blinked in surprise. The human's voice was gentle, nothing like the harsh tones she expected from a Deathworlder. You're medical personnel? That's right. We're here to help your injured crew members. Can you show us to your medical bay? As they moved through the corridors of the Star Whisper, Lyra couldn't help but notice how the humans behaved. They moved with the fluid grace of predators, but they treated her ship and crew with obvious respect. When they encountered injured Zephyrians, the humans immediately knelt beside them, speaking in soothing tones while opening their medical cases. Commander Santos, Lyra asked as they reached the medical bay. Why are you helping us? Your species is classified as extremely dangerous. Santos looked genuinely puzzled. Dangerous? Captain, we received a distress call from people in trouble. Of course we came to help, it's what anyone would do. The miracle of medicine. In the Star Whisper's medical bay, Dr. Kim worked alongside the ship's medical officer to treat the most critically injured crew members. The human doctor's equipment was far more advanced than anything the Zephyrians possessed, with diagnostic tools that could analyze alien biology in real time. This is incredible, whispered Dr. Senna, the Star Whisper's chief medical officer, as she watched Dr. Kim work. Your medical technology is centuries ahead of ours. Different evolutionary pressures, Dr. Kim explained, while carefully administering medication to an unconscious Zephyrian. Humans have always been fragile compared to our world's other predators. We had to become very good at healing injuries, or we wouldn't have survived long enough to develop civilization. Meanwhile, in the lower sections of the ship, human engineers worked alongside Zephyrian technicians to restore life support systems. Chief Engineer Blake studied the alien technology with obvious fascination. Your power systems are based on crystalline matrices, she observed to Engineer Dara. It's beautiful work, much more elegant than our fusion reactors. But your systems are more robust, Dara replied, watching as the humans installed temporary power couplings. You build as though you expect everything to break under stress. Experience, Blake said with a grim smile. On Earth, anything that isn't built to survive gets destroyed quickly, the moment of truth. The real test came when the humans encountered the 3 Zephyrian younglings, who had been trapped in the lower sections. The children were barely conscious, their gills struggling to extract oxygen from the thin air. When the rescue team reached them, led by Marine Sergeant Washington, the younglings took one look at the armored humans and began crying in terror. Please don't hurt us, whimpered the eldest youngling, a girl named Kira, who couldn't have been more than 50 years old. We haven't done anything wrong. Sergeant Washington, a battle-scarred veteran of humanity's colonial wars, immediately removed his helmet and set down his equipment. Hey there, little one, he said softly, his voice taking on the tone adults used with frightened children everywhere in the galaxy. Nobody's going to hurt you, we're here to help. But Kira only cried harder. You're Deathworlders, you eat children and destroy planets. Washington looked genuinely hurt by the accusation. Slowly, he reached into one of his pouches and pulled out something that made everyone freeze in surprise. A small, worn photograph showing a human family. A woman and two small human children smiled at the camera. "This is my family," Washington said gently. "My wife Sarah and my kids, Tommy and Lisa. They're about your age. Do you think someone who loves children like this would hurt you?" Kira stopped crying and stared at the photograph. Slowly, she reached out to touch it with one delicate finger. They look happy. They are happy. And right now, they're probably worried about their daddy who went into space to help some children who were in trouble. Washington carefully lifted Kira in his arms. "Let's get you somewhere safe, okay?" Understanding dawns as the rescue operation continued. Both species began to see past their misconceptions. The Zephyrians watched in amazement as humans worked tirelessly to save alien lives, showing no regard for the fact that they were helping complete strangers from another world. Captain Lyra found herself in conversation with Captain Rodriguez as their medical teams worked together to stabilize the worst injured crew members. "Captain Rodriguez," she said, "I must ask you something that has been troubling me. Your species builds warships like nothing we've ever seen. You carry weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Yet you use this power to rescue strangers. Why?" Rodriguez was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. "Captain Lyra, humans didn't evolve as the strongest or fastest species on our world. We survived because we learned to work together, to help each other. A human alone dies quickly on Earth. But humans who help each other can accomplish incredible things. But the weapons, the military structure. We learned early that the universe can be a dangerous place. We build strong ships and carry powerful weapons because we never know what threats we might face. But Captain, those same weapons that can destroy can also protect. The same ships that carry our soldiers also carry our doctors and engineers." Lyra nodded slowly, beginning to understand. "You prepare for war so that you can preserve peace." "Exactly. And when someone calls for help, we answer. It doesn't matter if they're human or alien, friend or stranger. If someone needs help and we can provide it, we do." The Galactic revelation as the Star Whisper's systems came back online, and her crew recovered from their ordeal, Captain Lyra made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. She opened a communication channel to the Galactic Council, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Attention all vessels and monitoring stations," she announced. "This is Captain Lyra of the Zephyrian Exploration Institute. I am transmitting an official correction to the Galactic database regarding the species known as humans from the Sol system." Across space, alien civilizations listened as Lyra continued. "Previous classifications of humans as dangerous deathworlders are based on incomplete information. While it is true that humans evolved on a hostile world and possess formidable military capabilities, they are not the savage predators we believe them to be." She paused, looking around at the humans who had saved her ship and crew. "Humans are protectors. They build weapons not to conquer but to defend. They answered our distress call without question, risked their own safety to save complete strangers, and asked for nothing in return. The galaxy has misunderstood them completely. I'm officially recommending that the Sol system be reclassified for potential diplomatic contact. The humans represent what we all aspire to be. A species advanced enough to help others, strong enough to protect the innocent, and wise enough to choose compassion over conquest. A new beginning, as the Titan's wrath prepared to escort the star, whisper to the nearest safe port. Captain Rodriguez and Captain Lyra stood together on the observation deck of the human warship. Through the transparent aluminum windows, they could see both vessels reflected in the starlight. "Captain Rodriguez," Lyra said, "what happens now, when word spreads that humans have made contact with the galactic community?" Rodriguez smiled, though there was uncertainty in his eyes. "I honestly don't know, Captain. This wasn't exactly how we planned to introduce ourselves to the galaxy, but I hope it's the beginning of something good." "It will be," Lyra assured him. "The galaxy needs species like humanity. We've become so focused on peace and contemplation that we've forgotten how to be strong when strength is needed. You've reminded us that sometimes the greatest act of peace is being prepared for war. In the weeks that followed, Lyra's transmission would spark debates throughout the galactic community. Some species remained wary of the powerful humans and their massive warships. Others, particularly those threatened by aggressive neighbors, began to see humanity as potential allies and protectors. The Zephyrians themselves became humanity's strongest advocates, telling anyone who would listen about the day Deathworlders had saved their lives and asked for nothing in return except the chance to help. And in the vast emptiness of space, where an accidental distress call had brought two very different species together, a new chapter in galactic history had begun. One that would prove that sometimes the most feared can become the most beloved, and that true strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the wisdom to protect. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, as if celebrating the moment when the galaxy's greatest warriors revealed themselves to be its greatest guardians.